Welcome back to the channel, Highliners. Today we're going to go through some news and events and things that are going on in my division and things that are going on here with the family that I'd like to tell you about that I thought you might find interesting, and getting to know me and getting to know actually the territory around South Dakota and railroading things of interest. And things of interest, I guess, that are going on to the Black Hills and Eastern family here. First up is the August, and you probably have seen this already, the August issue of Trains Magazine from Kalmbach. You might notice, or at least you see the cover here on the screen, is a South Dakota focused issue. And I have two friends of the channel that are featured authors in this issue. Chris Laskowski and Rick Mills at the South Dakota Railroad Museum both have a couple of articles in here. And they focus on the historical and the current state of railroading in South Dakota. And it's if you don't know much about South Dakota railroading and you're interested in it, whatever, need a catch up to what's going on today, this is a very good issue to pick up. Again, August 2023 issue of Trains Magazine. The issue gives a brief historical view of railroading in South Dakota, as well as gives a good synopsis of the current state of railroading in South Dakota. I wouldn't exactly call it a rise from the ashes type story, because we're not exactly in a good state compared to we were at the maximum system. We've lost about half of the mileage in South Dakota here since we were at the zenith of the system. So there's that, but it does give, I would say the state of railroading is healthy and is probably on the upswing here in South Dakota. A couple of things that I found interesting in the article. There is a note about each one of the short lines and what they're doing. There's a article dedicated to Black Hills Central, the steam-powered tourist railroad out of Hill City, South Dakota, and extending over to Keystone on the old BN Keystone branch, or the CB&Q Keystone branch off of the High Line. That's fun to see. And one thing that a couple of things actually, I'm gonna quiz you guys on this. There was 2 points in the article that got me to think a little bit. And the first one is that South Dakota is currently served by 2 Class 1 railroads. And the first one is obvious. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. The guys that wear orange and black, the BN guys, they have a lot of mileage in the state and are very much part of our state. What's the other Class 1? Maybe put it in the comments below if you know, if you think you know. I'll give you a hint. The other Class 1 that's operating in South Dakota has recently changed its name. Maybe I just gave it up. Anyway, and then the other thing is they mentioned that the state is also served by 2 steam-powered tourist railroads. And that one I already referenced, Black Hills Central. What's the other one? Again, if you know, place your answer, what you think it is, down in the comments below, and we'll see who. And no fair if you're from in the state. No fair answering that question if you're from South Dakota. But if you think you know the second steam-powered train in South Dakota, let us know here. And if you're not a regular consumer of Trains Magazine, you can go ahead and pick that up. Recently, actually, I've noticed that Fleet Farm is selling model railroader and trains. And I did happen to notice, weirdly enough, that Walmart has those 2 magazines as well. At least my local Walmart has them, weird enough, on their magazine rack in the back of the store. Then the other point of interest that I have coming up here is a podcast coming out featuring, again, another friend of the Black Hills and Eastern Railroad, Alan Saatkamp, who will be on with Ray Arnott on his Around the Layout podcast. Alan is a MMR. I met him when he was in the Sioux Falls Metro, and he was modeling at that time DM&E, Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern, west of Winona out to Tracy, Minnesota. And that's kind of how we got acquainted. And really at that time when I met him, this has been probably between 15 and 17 years ago, my interest really intersected with his, and I was doing some stuff with the DM&E back then. I didn't have a layout, but that was really sort of the spark that got us started, and really a lot of our interests besides that intersect, and our philosophies and things like that. And we just became, Alan has been a good friend of mine since then, And he's since moved on a couple of different times. He's out in Illinois now, and he has been published. Actually, he says, depending on how you're counting, 11 times in different national publications besides the publication that he puts out himself, the newsletter that he puts out, his Prairie Ponderings. No, anyway, so he'll be on September 5th with Ray Arnott on the Around the Layout podcast. I'll give a link to Ray Arnott in his Around the Layout podcast down below, and you can check those guys out when that episode drops again on September 5th. One of the things I really like about the Around the Layout podcast, and I've been a listener now for probably around 6 months or so, Ray is really good at getting down to the meat of the subject, and he keeps his episodes to around an hour or so, and keeps the fluff to a minimum. Well, he does do a good job of getting into the kind of the basic biographical information of each one of the modeler guests that he has on, and finding out what brought them into the hobby and what's kept them in the hobby, and sort of going into their specialty, what they're modeling today, and any special things that they may be doing with their particular interest. And anyway, so we hope to hear more of the same with a Alan Saatkamp interview with Ray Arnott. Again, that episode airs on September 5th. One product note of interest to Black Hills and Eastern is a BN locomotive being made available by Rapido Trains. And I don't know if you've heard about these guys or not, but Jason Schrone is doing a really good job with a lot of humor, and they're just plain doing a nice job on their models. I don't really have any business owning an RS11, but since it's green, they're making the Northern Pacific specific RS11, and I guess I've been hearing that there are a lot of little nuances that cropped up, different manufacturing phases and things that Alco did while they were manufacturing the RS11. So there's a lot of different things. They tooled a lot of different parts, and they tooled the Northern Pacific ones, which of course became Burlington Northern engines. But they're just going to be really cool. Being a modeler in the upper Midwest in Burlington Northern, I have really no business owning an Alco of any kind, but I recognize that these are going to be super cool and super accurate. That's going to be a good running and good looking model. Then, in events around that are interesting to the Black Hills and Eastern or in South Dakota, we have the mark your calendars for the train show, Trains at Christmas, coming up with the Sioux Valley Model Engineers Society. That will be November 18th and 19th in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. If you ever have trouble remembering when that show is going to be, it's always the first weekend before Thanksgiving, and that's kind of their view on the kickoff to the Christmas season. They call it Trains at Christmas, and they get a big attendance. They fill up sort of the northern half of the expo building in Sioux Falls, on the fairgrounds in Sioux Falls, and it's really a good time. Everybody has an amazing time. The show is always full, and we look forward to it. I hope to be there with the camera and doing some interviews and things like that at that show. And then, of course, there's quite a few things going on at my local division level. Dakota Southeastern Division is my local division here, DSED for short. They've got a lot of stuff going on this fall, too, including setting up at the train show that I just mentioned in November. And I believe they're traveling. They're invited at least to Oklahoma City for their train show down there. I'm not sure the dates on that. I'm not going to be able to be traveling with them, but certainly they are busy with different outreach events. They've also got a progressive picnic that they've announced, and also they are doing community education classes through the Sioux Falls School District. You'll have to contact a DSED member for that. Get a hold of them on their website, dakota.southeastern.org. I'm showing some of the stuff that they've got going on their site right now. Some of their programming, a lot of library programming, showing their HO modules. They've got N modules, and I think they might have some Z modules as well. You have to check with some of those guys. They're really, that group is really on fire right now. Then, as far as things going on in the home front, maybe non-rail related here, we've got the Twins are doing flag football again this fall. That's a really fun thing that they've got going on. They play an 8-game schedule, and that ends, I believe, the last regular game, I think, or actually they have their little Super Bowl tournament is the last weekend in September, I believe. Then, and Milo is playing South Dakota junior football. That's his first year of tackle. Very interesting to all of us to see how he's developing in that. He says he likes it. He seems to be doing very well. And then, of course, the girls will be playing soccer this fall again with the team locally
here. Don't
here.
handle your emotions and ask questions. And
yeah. Fall firewood season is going to be going on. You've seen us working on the 25-26 stash a little bit in July and August. I've actually got an episode that I'm going to air for the August processing. A little bit more fun, some rock music associated with that, and hope you catch that coming up. We're actually bringing in our firewood for to replace what we bring in for this coming heating season. We hope to get 2 years worth of seasoning on that. It'll be nice and dry by the time we burn it. Finally, I have a very long list of stuff that I want to get to for you guys, but making content for YouTube is pretty time consuming by the time we shoot and edit. Would love to get to everything on my list, but I don't know if that's realistic. If there's something specific that you see on the layout or somewhere around in one of the episodes and want to know more, please let me know in the comments, and I'll try and get to it as I can. I want to follow what you guys want and what I guess also what I'm interested in, because that's the purpose here, is to show you kind of what we're doing here in Southeast South Dakota. Finally coming up, expect a construction update episode. I've got a few things in the pipe here for you. Ellison Eastern Railroad, a spotlight for HO scale modelers. That'll be a fun episode. And then, like I said, a construction update, show you guys exactly where we're at here on the layout. What needs to be done yet. There's a lot of work to do, but in order to get started on the second and third decks, there's quite a bit of little work to do in the staging area here. So I'd like to walk you through that. Stay tuned for those, as well as more firewood updates and some other things going on around the division and around our property here. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.